Hey everybody, today is Tuesday, November 29th, 2022, and we're here at the St. Patrick's Cemetery in Norristown, Pennsylvania, to do a bit of a follow-up story from last week. So as you may remember, my son and I actually went out to a playground last week, a big, gigantic 3-story playground on a very nice day. Definitely a day nicer than today. It's very, very cold out today. If I'm mumbling and stumbling, it's because I am freezing right now. It's very cold, like 30-something degrees. Definitely chilly here in Pennsylvania. But last week we had a beautiful, like 50, almost 60-degree weather day. So we went out to the Manderach Memorial Playground. And while we were there, I very briefly, because my 8-year-old son was standing right next to me, I briefly told the story of how that playground came to be. It is a memorial for Lisa and Devon Manderach, who unfortunately, and very sadly, back in September of 1995, were actually murdered while visiting a children's clothing store in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. Definitely a crazy, sad story that definitely shook the area at the time, because Collegeville is a suburb of Philadelphia. It's maybe like a good, half hour, 45-minute drive outside of Philadelphia. That area is not really known for murders and crazy things like that happen. So when this did happen, it was a pretty crazy story. They were actually murdered by Caleb, I believe it was Fairley or Farley, if I'm saying his last name correctly. He was the son of the owners of the children's clothing store, and he was working there, but apparently he had already done some crazy things, like he had drilled some peepholes into dressing rooms, and he had done some pretty messed up stuff. He was not quite right in the head, clearly, and from what I've read, his family wasn't really the best family. He didn't really have the greatest upbringing and didn't really have the best home life. His young brother actually had somewhat just recently, before all this happened, back in 1995, had accidentally killed himself with their parents' gun, I guess while playing with it or something like that. I think the kid was like 4 years old, or he was pretty young at the time when he actually accidentally killed himself. So again, family, not the greatest upbringing, unfortunately. And Caleb had some issues, and he decided in September of 1995, while working at this children's store, when he saw Lisa walk in to the store, he decided, okay, this is the girl I'm going to take advantage of. He locked the door and he killed her. He murdered her and then had his way with her body. And then their young, I believe it was 16-month-old, only a year and some months old child, Devon, was still alive at the time. He murdered Devon as well, which is pretty crazy to think about, murdering a 1-year-old. That is pretty intense. I mean, definitely intense to murder an adult as well, but to murder an adult, and then as their 1-year-old child's probably there watching what's happening, crying, probably very confused. I remember when my son was 1-year-old, he was very young, but he could still sort of comprehend things to an extent. Child probably had no idea what was happening, very scared, probably crying, and then unfortunately he murdered the child as well. So pretty messed up story. He actually dumped the body of Devon out in Valley Forge, in the woods of Valley Forge National Historical Park. He drove out there very late at night, dumped a body into the woods, and then I believe Lisa's body was actually dumped behind, I think it was a workout center, a gym, somewhere out in the King of Prussia, Pennsylvania area. He was actually from, I believe, Gulf Mills area, which is not too far away from King of Prussia. Kind of makes sense that he would have dumped the bodies in those areas, because when you're driving from Collegeville, Pennsylvania to Gulf Mills, you do go through the Valley Forge area, you do go through the King of Prussia area, so it makes sense he was just kind of dropping the bodies off as he drove back home. Crazy to think that he did all this, cleaned up afterwards. When I heard there were spots on the carpet where he had definitely cleaned, they actually found hair from Lisa in the vacuum cleaner, things like that. He had scratch marks all over his face and his body because Lisa was trying to struggle and get away. And when police questioned, what had happened, why did he have these marks all over his face, he said he was at a concert, like a heavy metal concert, had gotten scratch marks on his face from being in the mosh pit. But of course it wasn't that. It was actually Lisa who had left scratch marks on his face while trying to defend herself as she was being murdered and choked to death by Caleb Fairley, or Farley, if I'm saying his last name correctly. Pretty crazy, again, messed up story. So here in these St. Patrick's cemeteries, where you can actually find the final resting place of Lisa and Devon Manderach, and they are right here in loving memory of daughter and mother. So if you're actually looking for this grave, it's a little, well, I wouldn't say too difficult to find. I was a little confused. The directions I saw online were sort of confusing. Up here is the chapel and the mausoleums. You actually just come right down here. Right there's DeKalb Pike, 202 DeKalb Pike. And they're right here by the road. Not too difficult to find once you know where they are anyway. Don't be like me and drive around the cemetery for an hour trying to find this grave. It's right here they are. Lisa and Devon Manderach. Get a loving memory. Daughter and mother. Their father is still alive. The husband and father are still alive. I'm assuming he will be buried here as well, because you can see it's daughter, mother, and I'm assuming father will be here at some point. So again, absolutely crazy story. I cannot imagine just the heartache that went through the husband and father's. I can't comprehend that. I can't imagine my wife and my son going out somewhere just to do some shopping, to buy some clothes for their child. That's all they were doing. They were going to a children's clothing store, simply just buying some clothes. And the complete psychopath, I'm going to call him that, the complete psychopath behind the counter decided, I'm going to murder this woman and then have my way with her dead body. And then after that, I'm going to murder their 1-year-old child as well. And then clean up, dump the bodies, and go back home like nothing happened. Pretty messed up. Like I said, I can only imagine what was going through the father's head when they didn't come back home. I could just imagine, again, like I said, imagine my I don't want to imagine it, but I can, my wife and my son going out and then just not coming back home, and then him probably thinking, where are they? You know, if you know, when you're married to somebody, you know their patterns. You know if they said, oh, okay, I'm going out to the grocery store, I'm going out to the children's clothing store, I'm going to be right back or whatever. You know kind of how long it's going to take. And once some time passes by and you think, oh, it's kind of weird, they're not home yet. Maybe they just went to run some extra errands. And, you know, this is back in 1995. Nobody had cell phones back then. So you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, thinking, where are they? It's starting to get dark out. It's just something's wrong. You know that, you know, too much time is passing. And you have no idea where your wife and your daughter are. You have no idea what's going on until finally enough time passes that you know something is absolutely 100% wrong. They should have definitely been home long ago, but definitely at this point, they should be home. What could possibly be happening? You might have been thinking, oh, car trouble, or trying to think of things that weren't the worst case scenario, and it turned out to actually be the worst case scenario. Once he got that phone call and found out, I can't even begin to imagine what he was thinking. It's got to be terrible. So again, guys, Lisa and Devon Manderach here, buried here at the St. Patrick's Cemetery in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Awful, awful story. And a crazy man, I shouldn't say crazy man, he was in his 20s. Crazy, very young man who decided to take advantage of working inside a children's clothing store. Decided to murder 2 people, a woman and her daughter, all because he was sexually frustrated, wanted to have his way. And when she did not give in, he killed her and then had her way with her body. Just messed up. Crazy story, but all right, guys. So I wanted to bring you out here. I wanted to show this to you. Wanted to visit the grave. Wanted to do a bit of a follow-up to the Manderach Memorial Playground. If you guys haven't been there, it's a really awesome playground. Unfortunately, this terrible story, this terrible tragedy did spawn an amazing playground where our children have been playing at for decades. My son loves playing there. Had some people leave comments on that video saying that they love playing at that playground with their children. Just generations of kids are going to grow up on this amazing, huge, gigantic 3-story castle-themed playground, which is really, really awesome, really cool. Definitely pretty amazing that the community came together and paid for this awesome playground, this awesome memorial playground in the name of the Manderachs. And now kids can have some fun. So again, horrible tragedy, but spawns an amazing playground in memory of them for children to play on. But all right, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. Just want to bring you out here again, do this little bit of a follow-up for you. Lisa and Devon Manderach, murdered September 1995 by Caleb Fairley, or Farley. Awful, awful story, but all right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. So as always, thank you all so much for checking out this video. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and of course, check down below for links to Patreon. If you guys do become a patron, I will send you a postcard every single month from the road. Also check down below for a link to Spreadshirt. You can grab yourself retro rest stop t-shirts. Proceeds both from Spreadshirt and from Patreon do go to help putting gas in Vanabelle and in Pumpkin, so we can come out to places like this. Sometimes interesting places, sometimes fun places, sometimes very sad, tragic places with very sad, tragic stories. But still stories that are interesting and should be told, so we do not forget. But anyway, guys, like I said, so check all those things. If you guys do help support the channel, I would appreciate it. But also, again, like I said, hit the like button. It's very cold. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And if you guys do subscribe or you are subscribed, I will see you in tomorrow's video. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one. All right, see you tomorrow.